What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday the 13th in October. Ain't that something? This is your man, Rodney Gillette, your president and CEO of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce, coming at you live today with some incredible people. Welcome to the Chamber Chat show program. We're going to talk about some things that are happening across the country that affect you as Black business owners, so you can take appropriate steps to do better and get some more money in your pockets and bless your communities that you're in. Today we have on the line District Director at the SBA Colorado District Office, Ms. Frances Padilla. What's going on, Frances? Good to see you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello there. And we also have all the way from my hometown, ATL, the chairman of the Atlanta Black Chambers, Mr. Marquis Tate. How you doing, Mr. Chairman?
Doing great. Hello, Rodney. Hello, hey, Frances. Definitely glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you in the mix today. So, the purpose of the show today is to talk about 8A. And it's had some interesting times in the last few months. Frances, could you give the people kind of an overview of what the 8A program is and what has happened to it, that folks should be aware of?
Sure. So I'm just going to start with kind of the intention of the 8A program from the beginning. As we all know, the U.S. federal government buys everything from roads to commodes. And so in order to get, a fair share of that federal spend, we have certain programs in the federal government for small businesses, including 8A, that will help socially and economically disadvantaged businesses get certified to be eligible for business development and sole source opportunities. That's kind of what is on the back end of that. And this program has existed for much longer than I've been alive, although I'm old. And recently, you may be aware, in about mid-July, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee issued a ruling that affected eligibility under the 8A Business Development Program. So in this ruling, what the court decided was that SBA, and it was not an SBA case, by the way, it was a contractor and it was a USDA contract per se. However, there was another 8A client who had won a contract, so that was what the dispute was about. So in this ruling, the court decided that SBA could not presume that individuals were socially disadvantaged, and that's one of the eligibility criteria, based on their membership in an identified group such as Asian Pacific Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Subcontinent Asian Americans, and Native Americans. So in order to comply with this court order, what we had to do was pause the program while we looked into what our practices were of presuming social disadvantage. And then while that was on pause, the new applications to the 8A program were paused. And then the 8A applications that were already submitted were also paused. However, it did not stop anybody who was already certified from continuing with their 8A certification, which we all know is really crucial in the last fiscal year of the federal year. Our fiscal year ends in September, and you see a lot of federal agencies that are really kind of racing to spend their dollars at the end. You see a lot of 8A firms get their contract offers and their sole sources and their acquisitions and right at that time of the year. So to not hurt them, we continued with the process for those that were already certified. And we just asked them to go back and just do some extra steps for continuing eligibility, just if they used the presumption of social disadvantage. And all that meant was, like, at the front end of your application, many years ago when you were in the program, you didn't have to write a narrative that proved that you were socially disadvantaged. It was just presumed because you were a part of one of the membership groups. So if you didn't already have a social disadvantage narrative per se in your application, what we had to do is just go back and ask you to do that step. And that's how we were handling complying with the court order, to make sure that we're not presuming somebody is socially disadvantaged. So those that had 8A status and had contract offers on the table, they were prioritized so we could get that spend done by the end of the fiscal year. Now we're going back to firms that are applying new or that already had an application in the process and just asking them to do that step as well. So if they didn't submit a social disadvantage narrative, we're asking them to do that. That's being reviewed as just a regular part of the eligibility application. We're going through those and approving things. So yes, there was that pause, but the new 8A application portal resumed processing at the end of September. So we're blowing and going. And I can tell you, Rodney, I know you and I have talked about this before, but we're already seeing some progress in Colorado. I've already seen 1 or 2 firms that were probably through the majority of their process and their review get approved recently. So we're adding new 8A firms in Colorado already.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for that briefing. Chairman Tate, you are a very big embedded business leader in the Atlanta metro area and working very closely with the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce. We're both parts of that central organization. How has this been showing up in your region? What have the implications been? What's the reaction been? And what are you telling your members to do to kind of, prepare for, I don't think people they're not going to stop at this one attempt to try to upend this program. So what are you telling your members to kind of be ready for the next wave of this and to take advantage of this while we still have it?
Well, for one is just continue the process. Francis, I'm so glad that the process is back open now to actually enter the 8A program application. We're encouraging our members to always look at, getting their businesses certified, especially on the federal level, because that's the best ways of getting contracts at the federal level, even at the state level. In the state of Georgia, we passed the House Bill 128, which created a program, a certification program at the state level, which is similar to the federal level program, 8A program. So we're definitely in support of that. We do have some major concerns just because of the affirmative action case in the admissions case with University of North Carolina and Harvard. It seems like it's fueling a lot of this attack on race-based or racially based programs that help our community, that are really help to remedy the past historical oppression that we have, had it in the Black community for the past many years and hundreds of years. So we're encouraging our membership base and Black business in general to stay the course. There's going to be some bumps in the road with this type of climate that we're in now, with all of these things that happened since 2020 in the George Floyd case. We're definitely on top of it. Rodney, we visited. We actually originally met at one of our events in Atlanta. We met in DC at the CBC week. Had a great time. I really appreciate your support on that. That's part of being a Black business owner is also getting heavily involved in the political process. Because when cases come up like this, when the 8A program is attacked, even the Fearless Fund here in Atlanta, which I know a lot of us have heard about, was attacked because of similar reasons. It's a program for Black women, and due to again that case, the affirmative action case, a lot of things are being attacked right now. When we talk about Black organizations, we even talking about it at the organizational level. Is what happens if there's a lawsuit against the Atlanta Black Chambers? How would we respond? So we're having those conversations now, so we can protect our organizations, protect our business owners here in the Atlanta market. Atlanta is a Black Mecca. We have more businesses in this metropolitan area than most metropolitan areas around the nation. So we definitely have to stay on top of it from a public policy standpoint. And we've even started a 501c4, Rodney, and that's called Advancing Black Businesses. And that's where we work in the policy area, public policy with local politicians at the state level and at the federal level, and pushing our agendas through. And our agenda actually starts with contracting. That's number one. Really, a number 1/2 is access to capital and working with those financial institutions and strengthening the public policy laws at that local, state, and federal level that actually strengthens those particular areas. So we're looking forward to keeping close contact with our local SBA office and the regional SBA, and even ultimately SBA in general, with the U.S. Black Chambers, which I suggest if members out there haven't seen the U.S. Black Chambers Black Print, which is the national public policy agenda for the U.S. Black Chambers. And in the Black Print, they actually talk about reforming the 8A program. And this was even before the case really hit the mainstream. And part of that is reforming it for the betterment of having chances to get those contracts. Right now, In the black print, the U.S. Black Chambers talks about the Alaska Native corporations. They can get sole source contracting or contracted up to the $100 million level in DoD and up to $25 million. And it's hard to compete against that just because they can actually get a lot of access. When you have those larger contracts, you have that experience. You can actually get those larger contracts when the average 8A firm, if I'm right about this, Francis, can get up to about $4.5 million sole source contracting. So the USBC wants to reform it in that manner to make it more competitive for Black businesses and other really 8A certified businesses to have a better shot at getting contracts. So it's actually good in a sense that I can say that this happened because we need to revamp the program, because when you think about the contracting levels at the federal level for Black business owners, the SBA came out with those numbers in 2021 from the 2020 data that we received 1.67% of the contracts at the federal level for Black businesses. So I see the contracting level in general as somewhat of a broken program when you have low numbers like that. So we're definitely pushing to actually get that much higher. I know the administration is actually looking at doubling or really raising that level in general to that 15% level. There's a few executive orders out there, from the Executive Order 13985 to Executive Order 14050. That's looking to address a lot of the issues in and around the Black community and in general. So looking forward to this process. Thank you so much, Francis, for working so hard out there in the Colorado area. So keep up the great work. I know it's tough, but we're definitely here to support what the SBA is doing in the Atlanta region and nationally. So keep up the great work.
Rodney, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to underscore and put a big exclamation point behind a lot of what Marquis said. And especially for Colorado, it's really critically important, if you want to grow your business, that you participate, if you can. You have a good enough service that lends itself to selling to Uncle Sam in Colorado. In Colorado, we are DC West. We have the second most concentration of federal agencies that are buying out of our state. So literally, if you have a business that can sell to the federal government, or even if you can subcontract, and like you said, Marquis, sometimes it's hard to break into that, into the realm. It's not easy to do federal contracting, starting from working with private industry and then jumping into public industries, different kind of customers. But we've changed some things across the federal procurement space that'll allow you to get credit as a subcontractor, even, so that you can show past performance. And that didn't exist until about a year and a half ago. So that's one way to start, is just think about subbing. Don't be afraid to take those $10,000 contracts just to break into that public space, because that will show past performance, and you'll get to know the people that are in the system. In Colorado, 230 or to 250, depending on who you talk to, federal agencies have a presence in Colorado. And I mean, we are killing it in terms of the scorecard, Marquis, in Colorado. Across the board, we exceeded all of the scorecard categories in contract awards compared to 2020. In 2022 compared to 2021, we did over $15.5 billion in Colorado federal contracts.
Wow. Okay.
So we have room for this. We have organizations like Rodney's and lots of other partners of SBA in Colorado. We're tripping over each other to help entrepreneurs. So if you're interested in working with the federal government, please reach out to any of us.
So where can we go to start subbing? Do we call Brother Hargrave?
You can join lots of different organizations. We're pretty tight network of government contractors. Everybody knows everybody, but you could start with the Minority Business Office, who is starting to put together a minority business directory that's free, where you can list your business. There, in some states, we have a formal 8A associations. You can talk to Apex, formerly known as PTAC. And they can help people figure out who's spending money and where they're spending it, in terms of, looking at FedMine or USA spending and those kinds of things. Even from my office, we can give you a drill down of where federal contract dollars in each of those set aside categories were spent in Colorado.
Right on. So Chairman Tate, you had made a comment about the 1.67 percent. Francis, why is that number so low? Is it just the fact that as Black businesses, we are not like going after this contracting space? Is that what it is, or do we have a lot of people that have Black-owned businesses in the contracting space just not getting the opportunities? Like, which one is it?
I couldn't speak for the rest of the nation, but I think, Marquis hit the nail on the head. It's one of it is just kind of, it's breaking into the industry. It's not like you don't have a business, maybe perhaps that lends itself to that. And the other part of that is bundling. We'll just call it bundling. So the federal government has kind of lots of different agencies have gone to, we want to be purveyors of public trust and guard the kind of money that we spend. And so we're bundling a lot of the contracts. And so sometimes it doesn't give somebody who's just starting in that space the opportunity to jump in, because those contracts are bundled for larger and larger and larger deals. You have to be a business that has the capacity and the bonding and the access to capital and the personnel that you activate to be able to perform on these larger contracts. So, it's been a barrier and an issue. One thing that I don't know if we've discussed, but it's in the 8A space that we probably want to mention, is that GSA, as you know, has a multiple award schedule. Their GSA schedule, lots of people know about it. But as they were bundling things more and more, it was harder for small businesses to break into things like just doing landscaping or doing maintenance in federal buildings, etc. So we came to an agreement with GSA, SBA and GSA last year, and we created what's called the GSA MAS pool, MAS pool, multiple award schedule. So that's another reason you want to be 8A certified. So there are certain 8A certified businesses that can also cross over and be on just GSA's pool. And so we've come up with a streamlined way of looking at those 8As, referring them over to GSA, and then now they're becoming an 8A pool. So that's so that federal agencies and procuring officials can look at them and find them more easily and start doing more work with 8As that they couldn't before, or if they say they couldn't find them before.
Right on. Thank you for that. So question to you both, with the current climate and the feelings towards people feeling things are discriminatory when they're trying to set the course of history right, what would you recommend to people that are tuned into our show right now that they do to kind of, fight for a prosperous future? Chairman Tate, you talked about getting involved in the policy space with your 501c4. I mean, that's part of this policy. Part of it's getting your 8A, getting involved in this contracting space. Is that it? Is there other things that people should be considering to keep this from keeping the fight against 8A and similar initiatives from being destroyed? Like, how can we stop this?
Yeah, Rodney, I'm a former state employee. I cut my teeth in government right out of college, and understand that public policy process, and just knowing that alone, just thinking about the free market system, traditionally hasn't worked for the Black community or Black businesses. There has to be policy to push everything through. If we didn't have the 8A program, just thinking about where will we be? Will we be less than 1.67%? Will we be more? I would think we would probably be less. So you have to really get involved as a Black business owner in this political process, from elections to helping develop agendas with our Black chambers around the nation to push for stronger laws that are going to force the issues of us getting contracts. When you think about the utilization of the 8A program, just like in the state of Georgia, there's about 290 certified 8A program participants. And what we're finding is that the program with that amount of people is underutilized. I don't know why it's underutilized, but we're thinking that some around 50% of the 8A certified businesses in the state of Georgia, and we're trying to confirm that 50% as we speak, but we think it's there, but we're almost close to confirming that, are not utilized. So why? I don't really know the reason they're not utilized. I know I received a text from a member actually last night, ironically, about they moved to Savannah. It's a women-owned business that has a certification at the federal government. They have the 8A, the hub zone, and they've had it for some time, and they're running into a brick wall and talking to contracting officers or really doing business with the government. So it's tough. It's tough out there for the ones that are already certified to break that ceiling of getting their first contract. Just like Francis said, that we have those smaller contracts, and that's what we're pushing for our members and the ones that, hey, go after those smaller contracts first, get that experience. And we even, Francis, you mentioned the GSA. We have a close relationship with the GSA. I'll be meeting with them within the next couple of weeks. And we're looking to strengthen that relationship and really bring some businesses to the table that we can actually talk to GSA about, and that are already 8A certified on the GSA schedule, even some hub zone businesses, because we want to move that number even further based on those executive orders, because the numbers have to go up. They have to go up higher than 1.67%. And we have to force the issue as organizations in that public policy space.
Right on. Can you give me some information on the buyblack.us, Chairman Tate?
Yeah, buyblack.usa is a certification program. If you talk about the certification program, Rodney, the BuyBlack certification program, yes.
Yep.
That was started just a couple of years ago by the United States Black Chamber, and it's an offset of getting our businesses certified in lieu of getting more contracts. This is actually for the corporate level, meaning working closely with corporations. And Ron Busby of U.S. Black Chambers actually came up with this great certification program. You can go to the USBC, usblackchambers.org, look at BuyBlack certification program, and get your business certified. It's a rather easy process, filling out the application. They generally have a quick turnaround in getting your business certified. You have to upload a few different documents to verify to get your certification, but it's definitely an added benefit of getting your certification and being certified. Rodney, a lot of times I disagree with going through the extra steps for Black businesses and getting certified, but it's a necessary step based on the situations that we have in front of us. We have to get certified where, some other businesses outside of our community do not have to go through the same steps. And that's one of the reasons I disagree with it, because we have to get in this line, get certified, and then get 1.67% of the contracts. I really think that once you have your 8A program, there's definitely should be. I truly think, it's a couple of years ago, before y'all streamlined the process, Francis. So thank you so much for streamlining the 8A process. But I know when we first started looking at the process years ago, it sometimes took some of our members 2 years, a year and a half to get their 8A certification. So, and if it was going to take that long, I was thinking, hey, if it takes that long to get this certification, there should be contracts waiting on you once you get that certification. Because if you look at the life cycle of Black businesses, 8 out of 10 Black businesses close within the first 5 years of being in business. And a lot of reason that is just getting to those contracts, getting to that end user, getting to those people that are going to purchase your goods and services. And sometimes that's rather tough, and we have to go through some extra steps to get there when you're looking at contracting, even at the corporate level.
I agree. And I think one thing we didn't mention is to get a foot in the door too, is to consider teaming. If there's another business out there who has a specialty and it's something you want to learn and cross train, or you need access sometimes to their partners, consider doing some kind of a teaming agreement so that you'll start to meet those people. You'll have some past performance as a sub or even as a JV or joint venture partner. So we also have all small mentor protege program in SBA that you can look into. I see things in the chat being thrown down there, so I know I'll see an all small mentor protege link pretty soon here, but that's something else to look into. And I agree about the certifications. I think one thing that I would say that people do, maybe a little bit of a misstep, is they assume that once they have a certification, that the certification works for them. No, you have to make the certification work for you. So you have to go out and sell to, all of these government customers and public customers that you've been certified, you've been vetted, somebody is standing behind you, whether it's the U.S. Black Chamber organization, it's one of the Minority Supplier Diversity Chamber certifications, it's the state certification, or even the federal government certification that says you're vetted. We have a green light on you. We're shining a spotlight on you. We're saying that you have capacity. Development program as part of 8A for 9 years. So, don't chase the certification, find your customer first, and then look at the certifications that you might need to help you kind of level up and get access to that.
Right on. Chairman Tate, you made a really good point. And I've heard that echoed throughout my whole life. You were talking about the extra steps that we have to take, and working twice as hard to get half is a mantra I've heard, over the years. It was in the first season premiere episode of Scandal. Papa Pope said that to his daughter before he put her on the plane. That was probably the realest moment of the whole show, was that one quote. Because I've heard it growing up myself. And I think one of the the shining lights to that is, we can do it. And, we've had that unfair pressure on us for generations. And, we've been resilient. We have broken all kinds of barriers. We have shown that we can. And I think it's holding on to that mindset that we can do it will keep you and anybody else listening on this call from feeling discouraged when you hit those barriers, when you hit those brick walls. There are people that have hit brick walls before and they have kicked them down. I wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning I want to do is just tear down every glass ceiling and kick all the doors in for the people, so we can keep pushing this thing forward. One of the questions that we had in the chat is, where can business owners find information to stay informed on policy updates? You have any idea on that, Francis?
Oh, had myself muted there. Everybody has to do that at least once every day now in this virtual world. For SBA, we actually have an electronic newsletter. So if you just go on to sba.gov and you kind of scroll towards the bottom and there's a stay informed button, you can choose your subject. So if you only want to hear about government contracting, you can pick that. If you want the capital access, you can pick that. Specifically in our state, you can go to our website. So that's sba.gov/CO for Colorado. And we usually post, and you'll have calendar items scrolling for different kinds of trainings, etc. on our webpage as well. You can even do a little list of lenders that are doing SBA lending in each state right off of each one of our web pages.
Awesome. We had another question. Which industries, and this is from Felicia Anzaldua, one of our board members. She's not on the video right now, but if you got a chance to see her smile, she'd just light up your whole day. And I told her I was going to say that because I know she's smiling on the other end of this call right now because I just brought her up. So what's up, Felicia? Thank you for your question. Her question is, which industries are best for government contracting?
Chairman, you want to take that from your perspective?
Well, I think, having to get certified, you definitely want to make sure that you have your certifications at the federal contracting level and even at the state and local levels. And depending on, which department that you're looking at, DOD has your larger contracts in defense. Look at the Department of Commerce. We have just awarded the Capital Readiness Grant from the Department of Commerce. So we're going to be looking at target areas around healthcare, around agriculture is actually one of the areas that we're looking at. So contracting, depending on your skill set, you want to look at the various departments and the type offerings that they have in each federal government department or your state government, and just match that with your capabilities and what you do and your NAICS codes and see where that matches up and go from there. Hopefully that kind of explains the answer to that question. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said before, we use the adage, the federal government buys everything from roads to commodes. I also say we buy everything from toilet paper to drones. So it really just depends on what your capability is. But there are certain NAICS codes that are probably more successful. Again, you can use this. It's a free service. Anybody can get it. It's public. You can go to usaspending.gov and create a list and a sort by different kinds of NAICS codes, and it will show you where this federal spend is going.
usaspending.what?
.gov.
.gov.
Right. Awesome. And I did promise Rodney that I would do kind of in the weeds breakdown on the different industry codes for Colorado businesses that were successful in 2022 under that scorecard, and I will share that with him.
Awesome. Thank you. We have another question from Helen Lewis. and she is with the Colorado Springs Business Journal and the Colorado Springs Indy, their executive editor. What's going on, Helen? Good to see you on the call. Her question is, are there ways we in the business media can communicate who should be applying and how they should start without oversimplifying? Always a danger. Either one of you can take that.
Francis, you want to take that?
Sure. I mean, from our perspective, we have lots of really great guides and checklists for each one of the certification programs. If you've never been to our website, it could overwhelm you. So I would say get you a cup of coffee with a little, adult beverage in it at the end of the night and start going through even our online training journeys. We have a whole training journey on governmental contracting, and it gives you checklists. It says, gives you kind of a decision tree in there. And we have YouTube videos that are like 5 minutes long. Again, it kind of simplifies, here are the great candidates for government contracting. And then furthermore, here are the eligibility criteria for each one of the certification programs.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you folks being on the call today. We make this thing short and sweet. I think it was incredibly productive, and we got a lot of good information out there for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Francis Padilla, District Director at the SBA Colorado District Office, and Chairman Marquis Tate with the Atlanta Black Chambers of Commerce. We really appreciate all of you being on the show today. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Please like, share, and comment. You can find more information on the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce at cosblackchamber.com, and all of our social media handles are the same. So please like, share, love, comment, and we will see you in the community. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you for today.
Thanks, Rodney. Keep up the great work.
Thank you,
my